Okay, I know I look a little rough. Just finished my morning walk. And yes, I now have to say my morning walk because these days I'm taking minimum one in the morning and one in the evening. I freaking love walking. Having my next little cup of coffee in my Bill Nye the Science Guy mug. Love this one. This is like my baby cup. It's because it's what's left over. I made a tiny bit extra this morning for me and and Iz left the last of it heated up. So I got back from my walk and went, hey, I can have more coffee. Yay. I know, what is this? Doing a second one the very next day? I decided to do this because as I do while walking, I was thinking, one thing I'm going to do is today's my day off. And even though it's my day off, I paid bills this morning, which caused a little bit of stress because, you know, I don't make enough to pay for everything. But I've been thinking about putting together like a photo book to sell. I've been thinking about this for a few years now. So I'm considering sitting down and going through my photos and putting it together and then trying to do like a self-published one on Amazon. If I do, clearly, I'll talk about it here. And I'm hoping people will buy it because while I don't think it's going to be so phenomenal that I will suddenly become a household name, which by the way, I've never wanted to be a household name. I don't understand why people want that whole fame and fortune thing. I really don't think ever in my life I've wanted for everybody to know who I am. I am more of a background character, you know? I didn't mention this yesterday, but I'll mention it now since I said that about the background character. I know it has nothing to do with what I was planning on talking about, but hey, anyone who watches these should be used to this. One of my all-time favorite movies is Imitation of Life. I want to say this one was like 1952, but I don't remember for sure what year. Has Sandra Dee in it and Mahalia Jackson singing at the end. Oh my gosh, I love Mahalia Jackson's voice. Anyway, in Imitation of Life, this one character just got me. And like, I'm talking to the core. And when I first watched this was after my dad died and my insomnia began. And we didn't have cable or anything, but we lived in the Atlanta area, so TBS was free. And when I couldn't sleep at night, I would just watch the old classic movies. That's how I found Imitation of Life. It was perfect timing and gave me the person that I wanted to be by watching this movie. Now, the funny thing is, if anybody watches Imitation of Life, there are these two girls that become great friends. One climbing the ladder, basically. I shouldn't say girls because they met when their daughters were girls. They were both moms, so clearly they weren't girls. Anyway, these two ladies meet. One is trying her hardest to enter the acting world, and throughout the course of it, you watch her climb up the ranks, pay her dues, all the hardships, the good breaks, blah, blah, blah. She becomes very, very famous. That's one, I guess, a lot of people would identify with, that whole follow your dreams kind of thing. But it's the other one I wanted to be. The other one is the best friend. The one who is just a housekeeper. She takes care of everything. She just had such a good soul. And through the entire movie, you see most of the movie is about the actress and the two daughters. This character, just, you know, she's always there. You get to see a little bit of hardship, but you see her always going. Oh, spoiler alert. She dies. And I'm going to tear up. Sorry. I think I do it a lot. It's after she dies, you see how much of a difference she made. So this person people thought had no real life and didn't do anything all these people coming out remembering her, because she always made sure everyone was taken care of. And that's what I wanted to do. So at the age of 14, I fell in love with this friggin' movie and fell in love with this character. I don't share the movie with many people because my attitude has always been, if you watch this movie and you don't think this woman is one of the most amazing people on the planet, I don't know if I want to know you. Sounds harsh, I know. I do the same thing with Firefly, but it's just that personality. That's what I've always wanted. So that's what I think I've dedicated my life to trying to do. Now, in my walk, what I was thinking about and what I decided I wanted to talk about was that whole never feeling like I'm good enough. Hello, Fang. Never feeling like I'm good enough, like I'm not doing enough, that if I'm not succeeding, it's because I didn't try hard enough. Been thinking a lot about that one. 100% stems from childhood, of course. And I hate to say this, but mainly from my mom and religion, because growing up, we would go to the different churches and this and that, and always told, pray, 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 pray. And then if something didn't, I was going to say come to fruition, if it didn't happen, and I would say, but I prayed, I would be told I didn't pray hard enough, or I must not have had enough faith. Everything was always because I was not enough. And growing up, my sister, friggin' brilliant. She was graduated high school at the age of 17, did college in 3 years, started Duke Law School at the age of 20. I, as I mentioned before, was the high school dropout. I couldn't successfully read a book until I think 5th grade. When I was little, my parents thought I was brilliant because they thought I was reading at like 3 or 4 years old. And it was the book Go Dog Go. But it turned out it was my favorite book. So I memorized it. And I memorized what words were on what page. I wasn't reading. I just knew this is what you said when you're on these pages. I didn't even speak until I was 2. Didn't realize I was dyslexic until my, I don't know, late 30s, maybe something like that. I just knew I couldn't read. I could read, but it took a lot, and I would be made fun of, like when you're in school, when they make you read out loud, and I would just have the hardest time. And you know, kids can be cruel. They made fun of me and stuff. I will tell you the first book that I successfully read beginning to end, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats and Him. I still have that. Well, not the same copy. The copy was from the library at school. But that was the first time I needed to know how a book ended enough to suffer through finishing it. Now I read constantly. I am an avid reader, can't get enough books. I will read them in print. I will read them on Kindle, on my phone, and I listen to audiobooks. Not kidding when I say I cannot get enough books. I mean, hey, I'm even wearing one of my SIG shirts for Scott Sigler, one of my favorite authors. So, avid book person now. Before then, whenever I said that it was hard or I didn't understand, I was always told straight up I wasn't trying hard enough and I must not want it bad enough. So finally, in the 5th grade, forcing my way through it and successfully finishing the book, and then starting to read more and more. And then the more I read, the better I got. That kind of reinforced for me that anything I'm not successful at is because I haven't tried hard enough. Now, not a bad mentality, but it's kind of a dangerous mentality. I got officially diagnosed as autistic in 2016, and not really a surprise, but I think that might be where some of the came from growing up. Then, I know I keep pausing to sip my drink, but coffee. Oh, I'm gonna run out soon, but coffee for me has to be hot, and it's not gonna be hot much longer. So, okay, coffee's done. No, I can stop that. Of course, now I'm wishing I had my water here, but whatever. This isn't supposed to be long. So, different stages throughout my life, I found perseverance and straight up stubbornness would get me to the other side. Consistently throughout my life, I would try to make something work, and I would try from every angle, because if it doesn't work, I know it's my fault because I didn't try hard enough, or I clearly must have missed something. Like I might have thought I hit every angle, but obviously I must have missed one, otherwise I would have succeeded. Logically, I know this is not 100% accurate, but that's kind of how I've lived my life. I'm friggin' 51 now. It's a little hard to accept any changes now, and I'm trying, but what I run into is clearly I have to try harder to find a way to succeed, because if I don't, that's going to put more of a burden on somebody else, and I can't stomach the idea of putting more of a burden on somebody else. Back to the mom church religion thing. I'm going to do my best not to get teary-eyed on this one. Throughout my life, like I said, I would say I need help, or I really don't want X to happen. And when I was younger, it was simple things like, I don't know, wanting to be the pitcher in softball. And I would pray and pray and pray that I could become the pitcher. And then I wouldn't. And I would tell my mom, but I prayed really hard. And then she would tell me, you must not have prayed hard enough. And that makes no sense to me now. In reality, somebody else was just better. That's it. Started to enter my teenage years, wanted to go to concerts. Still remember Huey Lewis and the News. Wanted to go to the Huey Lewis and the News concert, mid-'80s. And I wasn't driving, so before I turned 16, and I asked my mom to take me to the place early enough to get in line, because this was, back in the day, you would camp out in line to get in there to buy the tickets. And my mom wouldn't take me. She said that if I was meant to go, God would make sure that there were still tickets available for me. Clearly not how that works. But that lets you know my mom's mentality for it. And for the record, no, never got to see Huey Lewis in the News. As soon as I turned 16, though, man, I started seeing all kinds of concerts. It was crazy. And it took me up until the 2000s to finally see Duran Duran, but I did it. Anyway, 91 rolls around. 91 is when, here's the part, trying not to cry. 91 is when Brian had his head bashed in. And that hit hard. And I got down there to make sure I was there before they pulled the plug. And I prayed my little heart out. And I told my mom and I asked everybody to pray. And my mom assured me that he was going to be okay, that God told her Brian was going to pull through. And I put every ounce of faith I had in the fact that my mother told me that God told her that Brian would pull through. Brian was brain dead and they pulled the plug and he died July 3rd, 1991. And I still remember when I got the news, I looked at my mom and I said, but you told me God said he was going to be okay. My mom, without missing a beat, said, oh, God must have meant the other Brian, your sister's boyfriend, who is now her husband. What? Yeah. That gave me a little bit of an issue. So as I go back through my life to try to figure out why do I feel like everything's my fault if it doesn't work, it's from having a hard time reading and being told I wasn't trying hard enough. But then, of course, much later finding out I'm actually dyslexic. And it's probably a little amazing that I figured out how to slam my head through. For the record, it's easier for me to read upside down. Isn't that weird? I learned that in college when I would sit across from the table from my friend Ginger studying, and I was reading her notes upside down and comprehended it so much better than reading mine face up. It's weird. Anytime I tried to do something, if it didn't succeed, I was told I didn't try hard enough. My dad, I know he was just, he was doing his best. He would sit there and tell me how much he worried about my sister when she grows up, because she's always trying to, make sure everybody's happy and do the right thing. And for me, he wasn't worried because I would just go up and say, all right, you'll do. And I would just demand things would be done a certain way, which I'm thinking he was basically trying to say that I was more of an independent thinker, maybe, but it still instilled in me that it's just, I take charge. I say, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. Continuously, I will finally ask for help. I've been learning you're supposed to ask for help. Everyone lectures me, you have to ask for help. But what I've discovered is when you have a lifetime of being the person who helps and the person who makes it work, not as many people take you seriously when you ask for help. It was the end of 2016 when I started saying, I need help. I even wrote it all out and I showed, family, that if everybody could contribute like this, then we'll be okay. And I have repeated this multiple times, and I constantly get the whole, I would help this month if I could, but I never get myself, I never get a break. I am always the one to hold it and try to make us succeed. This is way back, even before I had kids. That's just always been my job. And every time when it gets hard, I buckle down, I try harder, and I make it work. So pretty much anyone who has known me for any length of time will see me start to crack, start to fall. And then I have a day where I kind of like, and then I persevere, I guess is the best way to put it. I bully my way through it is the other way we say it. I think Pax normally says I bully my way through it. I just put my head down and slam through. I make it happen. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm running out of steam. And so I don't think I can bully my way through anymore. I am getting older. I'm thinking more about the future, not wanting to be a burden. So I know I need to get enough done to take care of my mom and then get enough done so kids are taken care of, even though they're adults. So then when my time comes, I have enough of a buffer so they don't have to stress about taking care of me like I'm stressing about taking care of my mom. Does any of that make sense? So on the walk, I was thinking about the fact that I constantly feel like everything falls on me, but I can't blame anybody else for that because I picked that up on my own. I put it on my own shoulders and I have continued to trudge along with it. By wanting to be so much like that lady in Imitation of Life, I have continued to do this. Stressing about what to do financially, needing to hit every angle. That's why I decided maybe try this, because I know I take good pictures. I had a lot of thoughts in my head. It won't be instantaneous, but at least it gives me a little bit of hope and lets me know I tried one other thing. Shy of that, the only thing left that I can think of is write letters to just random people and say, hey, want to buy something of mine? You want to hire me for something? I don't know what else to do. So I think that's where I'm going to go from here. So for the next few days, I think I'm going to work on making those photo books and see if I can make something work that way. Because as much as I would love to have help, I also need to make sure I got things taken care of. And I have to know that I really have checked off all the boxes. And I have an insane imagination, so I can come up with a whole lot of different scenarios. And so maybe I can try this, and if it doesn't work, maybe by the end of that, I'll have come up with another idea. Who knows? But that's it. That's what I was thinking about. And I think Osiris is ready for me to be done. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll give the story of where the kitties came from. Until then, peace.